Hello. One of the areas that we're often contacted by people regarding continuing healthcare funding and the issues surrounding paying for care is the mystery of the care cap. I should start by saying categorically that the care cap is currently not applicable to anyone. It was originally mooted as being a factor for relevance in the Care Act 2014, but then was delayed to a minimum date of 2020 for implementation. So as it stands presently, it is not applicable and should not be relied upon. Nevertheless, it's useful to be explained because one would hope that it may well become applicable in 2020, and therefore I'm happy to try and provide some guidance in relation to it. Now, the issue is, unfortunately, that often in these situations, if something sounds too good to be true, sadly it often is. The care cap refers to it being the case that the maximum you will pay is £72,000 in total for the cost of care. That is obviously quite a positive situation because if one thinks that you have a relative with a house or assets worth around £200,000, you might think that only £72,000 of that is ever going to be at risk. Sadly, that simply isn't the case. So let's try to go through a working example of why it doesn't work and why people perhaps get a bit confused as to how it's applicable to them. If you are paying £720 a week to be in a care home, you might reasonably think that after 100 weeks you have paid £72,000 and therefore you're not obligated to pay a penny more. Sadly, this is unfortunately not the case. As a working example, using that figure of 720, first and foremost, the £720 does not take into account the discounted rate that the local authority may have agreed to pay as a maximum for that home. So for example, if the local authority will only pay around £600 a week for an individual to be in a home, and there is a top-up of 120 taking it to £720, that difference of 120 a week is not counting towards the £72,000 total. So after 100 weeks you have paid £72,000, you've actually only hit the figure of £60,000 on the basis of that 600 is the maximum that they'll be paying. Worse still than that, of that £600, perhaps around £300 may be allocated as being general living expenses, i.e. board and lodgings, food, etc. So only 300 of the 600 is actually classed as being cost of care, which is knocking away towards the total of the £72,000 that must be paid. So by the time you've paid £72,000, you've actually only accumulated, on the figures I'm giving you, £30,000 as a total towards the overall 72. So money out of your bank account, you will have had to have spent nearer £150,000, £160,000 to get anywhere near hitting that £72,000 upper limit. Now you may think, well, at least at that point I've spent £160,000, I am now at the upper threshold, the house is worth £200,000, it's still ring fenced. Unfortunately no, the case still remains rather weighed against the individual, because even when you hit that upper threshold, you still continue to have to pay the board and lodgings element and the element of difference between the social services rate and the home's private nursing rate. So on the example figures I've been using, which are purely for illustrative purposes only, you would still remain paying £300 a week for the board and lodgings and £120 a week for the difference between the social services rate and the privately paying rate. So you've been paying £720 a week all of this time, even when you've spent £150,000, £160,000 and finally hit the upper limit of the care cap, you still continue to pay £420 a week, more than half the figure that you were originally paying. So to be frank, it isn't really the solution to the problems that people think it might be. Now, all of this is utterly irrelevant if it's established that the individual's need for being in care in the first place is primarily a health need. In those circumstances, the NHS are obligated to meet the cost of care in full at the point of source, so i.e. in whatever setting they're in, so in a nursing home, a residential home, even if they're in their own home, they will pay the cost of care in full, regardless of what the financial position of the patient is. It's irrelevant if they own a home, it's irrelevant if they have money over £23,250. If you have any questions regarding continuing healthcare funding, even discussing on basic terms whether your relative may be eligible, may meet the criteria, we do provide a free, confidential, no obligation service where we're more than happy to go through and explain matters in detail, as well as doing an assessment of the individual's needs to give a view as to what in fact can be done, if anything. We can be contacted directly by telephone on 0121 227 8940. Alternatively, please take time to have a look at our website www.continuing-healthcare.co.uk. There we've completed a number of video blogs which we hope will be of use to you, and you can complete a confidential online survey and one of our experts will get back to you at a point of convenience. Thank you.